Good afternoon, or maybe it's morning. Yeah, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Leo Gilling coming to you again, speaking about crime, speaking about how to prevent crime, what caused crime, why do people commit crimes, how can we prevent them from, and how do we reduce crime. That's what been our topic for the past couple of weeks. We're doing a series on criminological theories. And, um, and so we've been through several theories before today. We've talked about social learning theory. We talked about procedural justice. We talked about, and we're going to be talking about several others. Today, the topic is the social control theory, which is very, very, very difficult for people to understand sometimes, but very easy to apply because you apply it every day, but you don't get to read about why you do some of the things that you do. And so we're going to delve into the topic today about um, what what do you think discourages you from or discourage you from committing crime? What do you think? What are some of the reasons why you think you don't commit crime? And most people are going to say, "Oh, because the police out there, the police up on the road, and you know why them come draw me up and stuff, right?" And other people will say, "Well, my mother tells me not to do this and not to do that and da 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 da." Yeah, both are correct in a whole lot of ways, right? But we're going to look at it in a different kind of way today. And I encourage you to please, stop in and have a little chat with me, ask me questions, let me know that you're there. And so we can talk a little bit about that. I'll answer your questions, right? So, you know, most of us don't know why why you wake up Sunday mornings to go to church. It's not necessarily because it's one big reason is because you want to serve God, right? But the other reason is because mom is setting a standard, and these standards have been set over time. All right. Let me give you a little story. The laws of the land, the laws that we abide by on a regular basis, those laws came originally from moral principles, biblical principles, and people learn how to relate to each other. And then those moral principles start coding them into ways in which people should legally, and not necessarily morally, but legally relate to each other. And so hence, you know, once upon a time, in the Old Testament, we talk about how people used to kill each other for minor things, chop off one another and then dig out each other eye and all them something that, and then Jesus came to save the world. Well, along with that also came policing. So policing is a matter of the law, and the law enforcement enforces or the policies that's in place to protect people from hurting each other violently or even mildly. Because if you just cut someone on their arm or scratch them, you can go to jail. You can be arrested for it, right? And so it's important that we understand why the law is in place. It is so that we don't go out and beat upon each other or steal each other's properties or take for granted that other people's property belong to you and so forth. That's why the law is in place, to prevent it. It was legally coded and put into place. All these moral values that we had from before, legally put into place as a way for us to relate to each other and to have a better life, to live a better life, less war and crime and among each other. But it still doesn't work, because though the laws are in place, it still doesn't prevent some people from causing other people harm. So I've started talking about going to church. So you don't know why your mom goes to church other than to serve God, right? Or serve the Lord. But there is another principle behind it. It's called control theory. Mom doesn't know also why she goes to church other than to serve God. But there's something called the social control. Word is control. In social control means that the society creates a way in which you or two of you or five of you will live together in harmony based on principles, norms in the community, right? And so the reason you go to church is to help to hold those norms of the society in place. The reason why you bring your son to basketball or to football to be involved in sports, it's not necessarily sometimes because you think that he's going to be the greatest, but because you want him to have a social life, living among people like him who are law abiding and are maintaining a certain lifestyle to keep the community and to keep the social control in place, right? Social control could be anything that holds people in place for them to be law abiding. So let me give you the actual definition of social control. It's from social control theory. It proposes that people's behavior are regulated by relationships, by commitments, by values, norms, and beliefs within a society. And it could be within your home because your mom keeps you within a certain control so that you will live a certain life in a certain way. Social control is a tool society groups use to maintain order and ensure that members follow their collective will. Group leaders do not directly intervene in their lives, in the individual lives. However, rather, social control is a process by which members of the group regulate themselves to prevent negative deviance and preserve the belief, the principles, and the values that are generally accepted, right? So we accept a certain moral standard. So when persons who are one-off persons go against those standards, then what happens is we get kind of out of, out of ourselves because someone is doing something that is not normal, right? And then what happens is when they do something that's not normal, it's harmful to someone, then the police comes and arrests them and they go to prison. So the prison system has its own social control. It's a part of that control system that we're talking about, the behavior. So you think in your mind that, oh, I don't want to go to prison, so therefore I won't do harm. I don't want the police to stop me, so I always have my driver's license. I don't want the police to stop me, so I always have my insurance, right? These are our control. You look at the on driving on the streets, you see the signs that says 50 miles an hour. It's a social control. Everybody on that highway are required to drive no more than 50 miles an hour. And if they go over it, then they're acting abnormal and the police is going to stop them and take them. So even the signpost that you drive with is a social control. All of the signposts that you drive and you abide by are social control tools. But the big one that is most important and most people don't think about it because when they think about committing crime or criminals, they think, oh, law enforcement is doing its job. But that's not true. The biggest social control is us among ourselves. We kind of keep ourselves in check, all of ourselves, because all of us among ourselves keep a certain norm within the society so that we can actually live among each other. There are some concepts that drive social control. They're called social bonds, right? I'm not talking about police now. Police, as its work set out, what police will do is to help communities maintain social order. Okay? That's what the police does. Aside from enforcing the law, their duty is to also help the community maintain all of these controls within themselves. They help to build that. So there are certain concepts that drive this social control theory. One, they're called social bonds. One, attachment, and we'll discuss each of them separately. The second one is commitment. The third one is involvement, and the other one is belief, right? But I am kind of different in the way that I present my concepts. You won't find people presenting it like that because I actually take these theories and I apply them to Jamaica. So we talk patois sometime in this, and so that people can understand exactly what they're doing when they're doing, right? So let's talk about each of these key components of the social control theory. They're all called together, they're called social bonds. And bonds mean something that keep like glue, that hold you together, right? Glue, hold it together. All right, and so the first social bond that we talk about is called attachment. So attachment is an emotional connection to an individual who has, or with others, in a particular importance in deterring criminal behavior. So let's see, your mom, you have an attachment to mama, right? Or me have an attachment to mama. Mama already set down the rule to say, hey, if you do this, you'll get beaten. Or if you do that, you'll get beaten. Or you must go to church every Sunday morning, and you must walk on that side of the street, or you must see, if you see an older lady, you must help hold their hands and take them across the street, that kind of stuff. So you have that bond with mama, because it's like you agreed by growing up with mom that you are going to do the things that she says that she needs to be done. And so she builds that inner you, and you become attached to mom. If anything goes wrong, mama, you whole life turn upside down, right? If anything goes wrong with mama. And so that attachment holds you for you to be law abiding and not become. So that's why they say families is the greatest way of maintaining order and reducing criminal behavior. So when you hear people talk about, oh, we need to get back to the basic family structure, that's what they mean. Because within that family, you build an attachment with your sister, with your brother, with your father, with your mother, and that's the smallest nucleus of a societal component that will help you in your bonding. Okay, so you attach with these people that you grew with. Anything ever wrong with any of them, you're gone bonkers, right? Because of that attachment. That helps us with preventing us from becoming criminals or to act to behave like a criminal or to be a deviant, right? That attachment there. So you're doing what your family does. There's always somebody who breaks that, and then you call them whatever you call them, right? There's always one bad apple, they call it. All right. Okay, so that's attachment. The next thing is called, the next key component that's in this theory, the social control theory, is called commitment. And commitment says it's the investment individuals make in conforming, such as their careers, education, their future aspirations. So you go to school because in the back of your mind, you want to become an attorney, right? And so you do everything in your power to become an attorney. You're not thinking of becoming a criminal because mom already set the pace for you. You ain't gonna be no criminal in my house, right? And so in your mind, the only thing that you're going to school for is to be an attorney. And so you build your education, then you leave high school and you go to college, then you go to university and law school, and you become the best attorney in the world. The idea of committing crime don't even cross your mind. You're committed to the path to being an attorney. So if you become an attorney, there's hardly likely, I mean, it happens, hardly likely that you will be a criminal. And that's what most people want. So they have this commitment to their journey to becoming something that is law-abiding and yet successful. So that's number 2, the commitment. Number 3, involvement. So I said earlier that you don't know why mom take you to basketball, right? Well, when in Jamaica, when they say, oh, this crime community is bad, and this community is bad, it's high crime and so forth, and we need to do something about it, the first thing they say is get the kids involved in football or get them involved in some kind of sporting event or some kind of cultural event. Get their minds involved in something that will take them away from criminality or deviance. All right? And so involvement, activities and engagements that occupy an individual's time and reduce the opportunity for deviant behavior. So when my kids were going to school, I was really involved with it. I went to every basketball game, every basketball practice, and I was totally in there. That was important not only to me, to me, but I did not want my children to be deviated to doing crime. Somebody else stepping in and teaching them something different from what my expectation is, right? So I get them involved from they were like 4 years old. And I went to every basketball game, every basketball practice. That coach could not keep me away from my child. And so that's what most parents do. And so when the child becomes actively involved in sports, there's a high likelihood that they are going to be, alongside the commitment, alongside the attachment, there's a likelihood that they're going to become law-abiding citizens, right? And so the last one, the fourth, is belief. Belief is a shared moral values and norms that discourage deviance and promote conformity. So what does that mean? That means if you believe in the moral values of your home, the moral principles of the community, if you believe in the good norms of the community, then you are likely will be discouraged from deviance and will be more conforming to the laws, to the rules, to the norms and everything else around us that will make us good citizens. It is an absolute important principle in criminal justice, because it's like self-policing yourself. It's like being a person among other people who are helping to create good citizens, good community, and a successful future for the individual. However, there are people, no matter what it is that you put in front of them, they are going to be different. And so the theory also states in reverse that if they don't have an attachment, so if mom is away from home, dad is away from home, and the children are just left by themselves to do whatever they want, then somebody else is going to come in, and that attachment is gone, and that child becomes deviant, right? That's the likelihood. If they are not committed, if they're not committed to education, to a career, they're not committed to being good citizens, having a great career down the future, then anything that blows, they're gone with it. But if they have a commitment, then anybody who comes with anything that's against what they're committed against, then what's going to happen? The child is going to say, no, I don't want to be that. Right? And they're going to be strong enough because they have the commitment for their future aspirations, right? If they're not involved in sports, and you bring them home every day and they sit in the house and watch TV, and they sit in the house and play games the whole time, and they sit in the house and all they see is you, and all because you're afraid out on the street because you're afraid someone is going to take them away, and you gotta get them involved. If they're not involved in sports, if they're not involved in soccer and basketball and so forth, then the chances are likely that they're not as tough because they don't get a chance to be among other kids who can help them develop themselves, their strength and their will. Okay, so involvement in community events very, very important in keeping. If they're not involved, then the likelihood is that they are going to be. If they don't believe in the norms and the values, that's the last one. If they don't believe in the norms, they don't believe in the values of the community. If they're not believing in the church and what the church is saying, they're not believing in your mom's words and all of these things, then what's going to happen? Somebody else is going to step in easily and capture their attention and put them into something that they're going to be believing in, and that's it. So in essence, social control to me is probably the most important of in criminal justice and keeping behavior in a way that is law abiding. I believe that social control is important. Once you work with the police department and you have these 4 things in place, I believe that your child will be ready to lift off and soar high. So let's go over what social control is. So the definition of social control is it proposes that people's behavior are regulated by the relationships and the commitments and the values and the norms and the beliefs within the society. The society could be small or large, whatever the norms are. It could be your home. As long as they believe in these and committed to these values, then they should be okay. All right, that is it for me today. This is Leo Gilling, and I'll share with you. I hope that you can share this, and you can also, if you're just watching and you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and just click that subscribing button. All right, have a wonderful day. This is Leo again. Bye-bye now.